You know that feeling when you're busy all week, you feel like you've had a massive day and you're feeling tired, and then you look back and you wonder, what did I actually get done today? This is something that I see all the time, and it's why I'm so passionate about helping solopreneurs identify what they actually need to be doing every week in their business versus what they're actually spending their precious and finite time and energy on. Lately, I've been asking so many of my members and clients to tell me exactly how much time and capacity they have each week to work in their business and where that time and energy is currently going. And the funny thing is that nobody can tell me, and it's starting to become such a pattern of avoidance that I feel like they don't want to know. And I totally understand this. I'm a solopreneur as well, and I know just how much time goes into things that are not really moving the needle in my business. And when I think back to my career in television, I would definitely not be working a full 10-hour day. A lot of that time was filled with busy work, talking to people, kind of hanging out, going for coffee walks with my best friend. And I'm sure for many of us, when we look back at time spent even in a job, the hours that we're putting in versus the actual work getting done in that time is so completely different. So let's not be too hard on ourselves, but let's definitely be more aware of where our time and energy is going and how we can make the most of that. I think this is actually going to become a series, and I want to start this series off with one I know that a lot of my audience really struggle with. It is the thing that comes up over and over again with different people and is actually actively stopping them from putting their work out in the world, and it's creating Instagram content. And this actually comes from one of my clients who did get back to me this week and tell me what it is that she's spending time on. And she said she's spending about 32 hours a month working on about 8 Instagram posts. But when I did a little deep dive into her profile, I saw that she's posted once in September, once the month before, and 2 and 3 times the months before that. And it's not that I think she's lying. In fact, it's really highlighted for me the thing that we are probably all getting caught up with, that it feels like we're doing so much more of the important things that we're actually not, and we need to find where that time is going. So let's break that down a little bit today. If we haven't met before, I'm Katherine Mackenzie-Smith, and for the past decade, I've supported introverted, highly sensitive, and neurodivergent solopreneurs to understand their energy and strengths, create businesses that accommodate and support them, and find their own daily flow and sustainable success without the empire building pressure. And in every video, I want to just give you one little thing that you can look at in your own business and implement to make your life easier, build more momentum, and that sustainable growth that I know that we all want. Okay, so let's get into this. As you can see here, I've got a bit of a pie graph, and this is obviously just estimated based on what I know of my own behavior and the people that I'm talking to who are struggling to create consistent content on Instagram. So we've got here like 60% of the time spent thinking, planning, scrolling, all of the things, thinking about how I really need to be posting right now. What should I post about? You know, kind of sitting, spending lots of time thinking about it. Then we come down to 25% tweaking things. So just like messing around in Canva. I would say it's probably even longer than that for many people. I know that when I started actively tracking how long things were taking me, some of my carousels were taking 4 hours to put together. And I can tell you, I put a stop to that so quickly. We also have here 10% avoiding. I actually feel like there are people who fit into this, and that's way more of what they're doing than 10%, but I'm trying to be generous and kind here. And then 5% actually creating and posting. And so you can see where if you've given yourself 4 hours, say, to create one Instagram post, how maybe only a very, very small amount of that time is actually being spent creating it. And the rest of the time is just spent with busyness that isn't actively helping us to move forward. So I'm going to share with you a few tips that have really helped me take my posts from taking 4 hours to create down to my 10-minute content strategy. Of course, a lot of this is about mindset, and it is so much easier to create a post when you tell yourself it's only going to take 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but let me share some of my best tips with you today. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you to do, which is what I start every single person with, no matter what it is that we're focusing on in their business, is to start by actually tracking. When we don't know where our energy and our focus and our time is going, it is then impossible to know what we're fixing. We're just feeling around in the dark, hoping that we can find a way to streamline and make better use of our time and energy. But without this first piece, we're kind of just making it up, and then our energy is just going everywhere. We have no real clarity around what's actually happening. So I want to encourage you to spend 1 week doing an audit. where is your time and energy going? Spend 7 days not trying to change or fix anything, but just suddenly having more awareness about that. And I know for my neurodivergent friends that it is very difficult and time blindness is a real thing. And so let's have fun with this. If there is a way that you can create a playlist that can help you keep track of time. So for example, when I'm doing my daily walk, one of my favorite albums is almost exactly an hour long. And so I know when I put it on first thing when I start my walk, that when I get to a certain point in the last song, I am basically coming to the end of my hour. I find this so much easier than trying to do time tracking or even paying attention to the clock. And so something like this could really help you to just see like, okay, I think it's going to take me about an hour to do this or about 2 hours, and create a playlist for yourself that is going to do a bunch of different things at the same time. First of all, it's going to help you to really contain and see what that time is that it's taking because you can see it in the track list. And then creating sensory cues for ourselves can really help to activate that part of our brain that's like, oh, it's content creation time right now because this is the playlist that's on, or this is the song that I'm listening to. But if you're not really into listening to music when you're trying to concentrate, some other ideas are anything that has any kind of time attached to it that you don't have to personally monitor. None of those time tracking apps or anything work for me because I will turn one on and then 3 days later I'll remember that I never turned it off, or I'll do it for a couple of days and then completely forget about it. So finding a way to make it work for you is really an important part of this. If you have something like a diffuser, I have one that turns off after a certain amount of time. That could even be something that you use, certain smells that help you to get into the zone, the flow of what you're working on in that time. And then when that goes off, you know it's been about an hour since you first started. And one easy way that I just manage this in my planner is I have my task, then I say like my estimated time, and then actual time. So that might be a way that you're able to start tracking what you think is happening based on what the actual reality is. And even really understanding that some of our tasks are maintenance tasks, some are creation tasks, and then we all have these, our avoidance tasks. And if executive dysfunction is something that you also have trouble with, please know that these will just be things that are part of your life. And instead of trying to stop doing them, we actually just need to know what our things are and how we can start to make those transitions back to what we really want to be doing. So your maintenance tasks are your recurring tasks, like your admin and things like that. Your creation is, say, your content, offers, etc. And your avoidance tasks might be things like waiting, scrolling, doing a million chats with ChatGPT. And the thing is that they're not bad because sometimes they can actually really help you to find your way back to what it is that you wanted to do. And you just have to do a little side quest to get there. So now that we've kind of established that, let's talk about how you can make this work better for creating your Instagram content. If, like me and my client, your posts are taking you about 4 hours to create, let's talk about how we can really simplify that down so that you can put that extra time and energy into something else. So step one is to focus on one platform. I know there's a lot of pressure right now to be across all the different platforms, creating lots of different kinds of content. But the biggest problem with this is that when you split your focus, you can only manage so much at a time. And it's very hard to keep up with the changes from the algorithm, the different kinds of content, what's working right now, and be able to show up and build community and engage with people on multiple platforms. And so it actually just really helps to get really good at one platform first. For example, I know for most coaches, Instagram is the place where we started, and it is where you're putting a lot of your energy anyway. It's also where most of your audience is likely showing up. Number two is that we are, yes, content creators, but that is not our primary role. It is just one that most of us are filling to bring new people into our business. And so spending hours and hours and hours creating one piece of content is not the best use of your time and energy. And over the past few months, I've been doing quite a few deep dives with some of my members and clients. And the thing that I see the most is they don't have cohesion across their branding. So their profile doesn't really look like anything because every single post looks completely different. Not only does this kind of cause a bit of confusion, and it means that your brand is not easily recognizable when it shows up in the feed of people who follow you. It also means that every single time you're creating a post, you're creating something brand new from scratch. So step number two is to actually use 3 or 4 repeatable templates and keeping them as simple as possible. You do not have to go into full-on branded content. I follow and I'm friends with some lovely Instagram creators and graphic designers whose Instagram feeds and templates are incredible. But the reality is that they are showcasing their expertise in that way, and we just don't need to do that so much. Some of the most popular formats on Instagram right now, for example, are simply just taking a photo of yourself out in the world and putting text over the top of it and just repeating that exact same post for the entire 10-slide carousel instead of creating a brand new graphic for each slide. Another one that is really popular right now is using the Notes app style post. And again, I can put one of these together in about 10 minutes. So some repeatable templates, you might have a branded carousel that you just swap the images and the content out of, but you want to make sure that at least your colors and your fonts are pretty much the same for every single post, and people will start getting used to seeing your posts pop up on their feed. I also use the Instagram stories feature to post even just once a day to keep becoming front of mind for my people and directing them to my other content like my YouTube channel, my podcast, or a paid low ticket offer that they can grab right now. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've got about 4 photos saved in my phone that I just use as the background for those posts almost every single time I do a story. Or I take a selfie at the start of the day and I just use that and add the text on top of it. Number 3 is to reuse what already exists. Many years ago, I created the content ecosystem, which is really about just repurposing one piece of content across multiple different formats and platforms. And I genuinely believe that in this day and age, if you are not doing that, your life is so much harder as a result. And while I've been doing these recent content deep dives on my clients, I have noticed that they will have one completely different topic that is a blog post on their website, then they have a different topic on their YouTube channel, then they're posting something different in their community, and they're writing this huge long email that's another piece of content. If you watched my video the other week where I talked about the 3 different kinds of emails that I send that take me 10 minutes or less, you'll see that the email that I send the most is one that is literally just a couple of sentences, and it is directing people to that long form piece of content that I've created instead of creating something else for them to do. So literally what I do to make this so easy, and it is so much easier now than it was back in 2020 when I first created the content ecosystem, is I will take the transcript from my podcast episode, for example, and I will put it into ChatGPT and I will say, please write a signal email, which ChatGPT knows what I mean when I say that because I've trained it and it knows what that means. I also ask for 1 to 2 carousels with a variety of hooks. Also things like a description, show notes. And if I'm totally honest with you, I usually end up changing these, but it really helps to not be starting from scratch. It also means that my 4-hour carousels now take just a few minutes because I'm literally taking something I've already said and popping it into one of my pre-designed templates. Number 4 is to repost what already works. I cannot believe how many clients I have told to, at the end of the month, go back through their Instagram posts from that month and see which ones were the most popular so that they can just repurpose and reuse them in a couple of months' time. Not only does nobody remember what you posted 3 months ago, you're also going to have new followers that maybe haven't seen that post before. And if you don't want to repost exactly the same post, you can change the hook, you can change the format, or you can just change some of the images and it's going to look completely different. Only you are going to remember that you've used it before. You might know that you had a really great piece of content and it maybe even didn't do that well. You can change the hook. Maybe your brand has shifted slightly or the way that you are talking and you are using different terminology now. You can update that and repost basically the same piece of content again, and people will either not notice or that might just be something that they had not paid attention to a few months back, but it was exactly what they needed to hear today. This is how we can take Instagram content from taking us 4 hours to create and then having about a lifespan of 15 minutes on people's feeds and give it so much more life. So it means that the time and energy you've put into coming up with that piece of content has just so much more life that you can breathe into it with just a few quick tweaks and changes. And number 5 is kind of a little sneaky other tip that I wanted to add in here because I see people getting this wrong so often. We want to make sure that we're adding a call to action, or what my friend Tara from Social Runway calls a call to benefits. So it's what action you want someone to take after they've read your post, and the call to benefits is why they should do that. I cannot believe that in 2025, I'm still seeing people posting a link in their caption. I love you all so much. Please stop doing this. Instagram has never had hyperlinks in the post captions, and so it is not doing anything. Nobody is copying and pasting that. I'm so sorry to tell you that. We're also past the time where we can just put a link in bio and tell people to go to the link in bio, and then they go there and then they see 20 different links that they can choose from. In 2025, the thing that we really want to focus on doing is either asking an engagement question that's really going to start conversations in our comment section, or having a keyword that we get people to comment where we're going to send them something else, either a link to one of our paid offers or a long form piece of content or a freebie that they can get from us, and using something like a ManyChat automation in order to deliver that even when we're asleep. This means that every piece of content we're creating leads somewhere and gives people a really easy next step if they want it. I know it can be so easy to just create a piece of content and then slap it up and then hope that it's doing something. But if we're spending 4 hours per post and getting very little engagement and seeing no results from it, of course, this makes it then very difficult to want to sit down and create. Just by making some of these really small tweaks, I know it's really going to help a lot of you to get in a better flow of creating so that you can do it quickly, repurpose fast, and then get back to doing the stuff that you really want to do while you're still being visible every day in your business. And you don't have to be creating Instagram content every day, but you definitely want to be thinking about different ways that you can let your audience know that you're open for business. You have something available, whether it's free or paid, that they can check out if they want to learn more. You're documenting and sharing your journey, and you're constantly showing up in your audience's feed so that when they are ready to take that next step, you're the person that they remember because they've been seeing you so much. So I hope that this was helpful for you to just take some of the time and energy out of creating your content for Instagram. If you have any questions at all, please pop them in the comments below and I'll make sure to swing back through and answer them. And if you really want to start focusing on creating your own daily flow and making the most of the time and energy you have available so that you can actually minimize the amount of work you're doing, but massively increase your momentum and the impact that it's having, please check out all of the links below. I've got a whole heap of different options available for you to start thinking about your own daily flow. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you find it helpful. I am going to pop the 10-minute email video here so that you can check that out as well. And make sure that you subscribe so that you can come back and check out more of these trainings about how to make the most of your time and energy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.